this episode on pop pedagogy.
That allowance to be disruptive in the face of crisis, I think we've seen a lot in the times of COVID.
That's such a good lesson. Yeah, I loved that.
Teenagers can be scary.
I chose Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Class dismissed.
Remember how scary your first days at school were, so I'd like you to be especially nice to Matilda.
Captain, my captain. Sit down, Mr. Anderson.
Are you going to teach us anything, or are we just going to sit here?
Welcome to Pop Pedagogy.
Hi, Melissa.
Hey, Nichole. How's it going?
Good. What are you snacking on today?
No snacks, but I've been drinking a lot of ayran.
Ooh.
Yeah, cold.
Nice.
What are you snacking on?
Yeah, because you're in Istanbul, so so the listeners know that Melissa has access to all of the best snacks in the world. I'm still in Virginia, unfortunately. Flights were too expensive, but I just have coffee. That's my snack for today. So I'm super caffeinated, but my vocal quality will probably be diminished. But I'm the host for today, and I chose Sister Act 2,
and
Back in the Habit.
Nice. Do you want to say a little bit more of why you chose this movie?
Yeah, I chose Sister Act 2 because I remember, it had a, I think, pretty big cultural impact when I was a kid. It came out in 93, and I still remember in middle school being forced to, maybe not forced, but the songs from this movie were still part of our choir curriculum. I remember having to sing Joyful, Joyful, this version of Joyful, Joyful, and because we just watched the movie, it's stuck in my head, but it will get stuck in my head periodically just because the songs are embedded in my psyche and they come up every now and then. And also Lauryn Hill's in this movie, and she is just amazing in the movie. And I thought looking at the film from the perspective of me now having been in education for quite some time, I thought it would be interesting to look at a teacher who is not trained to be a teacher and who is thrust into a classroom, see how they manage, and if they're a good teacher, and was it responsible to put her in the classroom? How does that impact the school and the community? So I thought it could be a good case study and also a fun watch.
It definitely was. Like, for me, it was like I don't think... I also remember it from when I was in elementary school, because movies arrived late, I think, to Peru. And I think I was like 5 years old when that movie came out. But I watched it on TV, on the public national kind of signal, and it was dubbed in Latin American Spanish. But the songs were still in English. So when I was watching the movie the other night, it was just like, like this nostalgia, this transported. And I remember how catchy the Oh Happy Days song or Happy Day song was back then. And I don't know what the lyrics meant or anything, but I was rocking to the tune.
Was the rap still in
everything?
Still in English, or did they?
Everything was in English. Every part of
the whole song.
Yeah. That's how I remember it, at least.
Joyful,
yeah,
adore.
Yeah. So this was actually the first time that I was watching the movie in English fully, and that was interesting. But yeah, do you wanna share a little bit of what happens actually in the movie? Just a quick plot summary.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. So it's a sequel to the first movie, Sister Act. So you need to know a little bit about Sister Act. In Sister Act, a lounge singer named Dolores has to basically go into witness protection and hide out from her boyfriend, who is a mob boss. And so to hide out, she joins a convent and pretends to be a nun. And while she's there, she gets to know the other nuns, and she turns them into a real hip choir, basically. And it's a subversion of the trope that nuns are very reserved and don't have a sense of humor and all kinds of stuff, because she takes these nuns and she just makes them cool. Yeah. And so in the second movie, the nuns have now become teachers in a Catholic school in San Francisco, and they're having some trouble connecting with the kids. And they think that because Dolores, who her nun name is Sister Mary Clarence, was able to help them come out of their shells and find the voices within themselves that she can do some good in this school. So they come track her down. She's become a little bit more famous since the last movie.
Oh, yeah.
And
she's a headliner.
Yeah. And so they track her down. They're like, please come help this school. We need you. We need you to do what you did for us, for these kids. And she is reluctant, but the reason you're famous is because of us. So can you just do this, please? And she's, yeah, okay, fine. So she goes to the school. She dresses up a nun. She pretends to be Sister Mary Clarence again. And they give her the music class. And she, in the beginning, sees that the school, none of the kids are engaged. She walks past the Latin class and there's literally a kid sleeping and falls out of his chair. And I'm trying to think what other classes she, but basically she's just seeing that there's just no real learning happening in this educational institution. And the nuns are struggling to connect with the kids. It's interesting to note that this is a Catholic school, right? This is not a public school. So all of these families have opted into sending these kids to the school, and you can imagine that most of them come from that religious background. Usually you send your kids to Catholic school if you're Catholic or if you think that education there will be better and you don't mind your kids getting a little indoctrinated. But obviously, yeah.
No, but I think they show like a couple of parents, right? And they seem to be like working class parents who are very, very like serious about their kids, like pursuing like, quality education. So I wonder if there's also, I don't know if that happens in
maybe
the US,
they also
Peru,
think it's safer than public school, because sometimes public schools are unsafe, or this school is obviously decrepit. It doesn't have top-notch facilities. The teachers aren't that good, so maybe the parents just don't know that that's what's happening there.
I don't know if it's a stereotype, but there is this belief. I think I've seen it in Peru, and I've read about it happening in countries like India or Kenya, where there will be like a for-profit school industry, and even if it's like a minimum payment,
it's perceived.
Yeah, it's perceived as being like higher quality, probably safer, as you're saying as well.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's kind of like what was also being reflected.
I think so. And I think we should also note, this is something I just discovered when we decided to watch this movie after we already watched it. So we said that we weren't going to review any real life teachers, but did you know that actually Sister Mary Clarence is modeled off of a real teacher?
Oh no, I didn't know.
So I learned this on the Wikipedia page for Sister Act 2 Back in the Habit, but it says it is a sequel to the 1992 film Sister Act, and it's loosely based on the life of Crenshaw High School choir instructor Iris Stevenson. So I'm sorry, Iris Stevenson, that I didn't know about you ahead of time. So we're not going to be talking about Sister Mary Clarence as a representative of Iris Stevenson, just as a representative of herself. But I guess the basis of the movie was that there was this school choir teacher that used hip-hop to engage their students and saved a failing school. So that's the basis of the movie. I think it informs more of the plot than the character. So just a bit of housekeeping. We didn't know that this was based on a real person, so we're gonna just review the fictional.
Always a fictional. Focus on the fictional character. Yeah.
Okay, so I think the plot. Maybe this is the spoilers part, but what happens is that Sister Mary Clarence comes to teach the music class. The kids are, nah, this is a bird class. We don't do anything in this class, and that's how we get. They do some pranks on her, and she almost decides to leave, and then she's like, no, I'm gonna give it a go. She demands some respect from the kids in a very engaging way. They decide to become a choir, and then they find out that the school is in a bad financial situation, and so they think if they win the state competition, the community will start investing more in the school and they can save the school. So in the end, they go to state, they don't know if they can win, and then they do really well.
Yeah. And they win. And I actually, when I was watching it, I was trying to remember, like, do they win? Because I was thinking that it could go either way. They could win, and this is like a super feel-good movie, or they could, be like first runner-ups or whatever. And this is like a lesson about how, it's like the journey, not the destination. Yeah, I couldn't remember how it went, but yes.
So that's the plot. And let me ask you, what do you think stands out about Sister Mary Clarence as a teacher?
So all of my notes about all of the notes that I was taking as I was watching the movie had to do with her character and her demeanor, because it was like a very intimidating experience. It is a very intimidating experience in the first place to walk into a classroom for the first time. Teenagers can be scary. And she was so calm, she was calm, she was collected.
Well, she's
but
the
like
girlfriend
also
of a mob boss. She's dealt with more sinister
of course,
characters.
and she's a star and everything, she's a singer and stuff, but like I think what stood out for me was that, and just thinking through her performance as a teacher, how she was not, you couldn't see that she was stressed, or you couldn't see that she was upset. She jumped in on the jokes even, but in a very respectful way.
So just scoots down the hall.
Yeah. But when she was introducing herself as well, right? And she was always like genuine. She was joyful when she was allowed to, and then as the relationship progressed with the students, that showed up more. But she did kind of like kept it real, and she I don't know, it was just like all of these experiential kind of learning that she also brought back into their students. And that kind of, that really reminded me a lot, or made me think about, well, where is that balance that the being a teacher, navigating, like all of this theory and all of the academic training that you receive in a university versus actually being on the field and being a practitioner. Like, like it's not about one or the other, or like that I think there's a sweet spot in that. And it made me think about a lot of these experiences that, like young professionals go through, like Teach for All, for example, where they are, like they're not trained teachers, but they come with some sort of experience in some field of expertise, and they receive like a very basic training, or experts like her, like a singer, she's thrown in there to teach, but she's a singer. So where's that balance, and where is that sweet spot that makes you a successful teacher? But in her, I think it was like the character, just her character, just her personality.
She commands respect just by the way she engages with everyone around her. And I think, well, one thing that stood out to me in the very beginning of the movie, when she goes to talk to the principal when she first comes to the school, I mean, this is a plot hole, but how did the principal and administrator, just a teacher shows up and they're like, oh, I guess we have a new teacher. They didn't. So anyway, I guess it's a Catholic school. Maybe they're, the cardinals
like
sent them or something. I don't know.
So, there, and also when the principal is like, let me tell you about my teaching, philosophy or whatever, it's like,
discipline. He just says discipline. Yeah. I was waiting, so he's like, I've got 30 years of experience, and I've got all these theories and philosophies. I was like, all right, dude, let's go. Tell us what they are. And then he goes, discipline. Okay. Wah, wah. And that's it. And she's just, and this is her training.
Yeah, that's all the.
But yeah, I think that it's very interesting how she gets thrown into the classroom. And it reminded me, I thought a lot about my first time teaching. I don't know what your first time teaching was, but my first time teaching, I was her. I mean, I never in a million years thought I was going to be a teacher growing up. I thought I was going to be, I don't know, a journalist or a zoologist, or I don't know, all kinds of different things. And then I got into teaching because I got a scholarship to study in China. And so I went to China to study Chinese. I was thinking of going down a road of human rights advocacy, this stuff. So when I was at my school in China, every day I would walk around the campus, people would just come up to me and ask me to teach. And so when everybody's uncle had had an English school, can I teach? And I'd just be like, no. And then I got into a bad financial situation without going into any details. I just needed some money.
And then you were like,
and
yeah,
so it's
sure.
okay, fine, I'll come teach for you. Can't be that hard. And so I got taken to this, it was a weekend school thing. And they just put me in this classroom with 2-year-olds. And that's it. No book, no nothing. And then, just teach them English. They can barely speak Chinese. And I don't know what to do with 2-year-olds. And they were just running around. So I thought I would play Duck, Duck, Goose with them. So we had them sit in a circle, and I mean, I think maybe they were older than 2, because I don't know if 2-year-olds could easily play Duck, Duck, Goose, but they were very small children, toddlers maybe. So I had them in a circle, they were playing Duck, Duck, Goose, and we would just change the words to different English words. So we were playing, I don't know, dog, dog, cat, or different things. And there came a point when one of the kids who got tagged had peed in his seat on the place where he was sitting. And so when the other kid chased him and sat down, he sat down in the pee. Yeah. So this was my first teaching experience. There were kids crying. There were parents. Why was my kid covered in someone other kid's bodily fluids? And so when I was watching, I was nervously anticipating Sister Mary Clarence's experience, because it's really difficult to be thrown into a classroom
it's
when
intimidating.
you just have no understanding or idea of what you're supposed to be doing there. And after that first experience, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going to teach. This is the worst thing I've ever done in my whole life. And then it got to the point where I was, okay, I still need money. I still need some money to eat and stuff. So I found a recruiter, and I want to teach, but I want to be trained. Can you find a school that will help me to do these things? And so they found a school that trained me. So I did a TEFL course, and then I had an apprenticeship basically. So I got mentored, and someone was in my classroom helping co-teaching with me and that was so good. After that, I was, I can do this. You know?
Even if it's just like a building your confidence kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And they let me sit in on their classes. I observed what they did, and there was also a curriculum that helped. So I felt a lot of empathy for Sister Mary Clarence going into that classroom for the first time. And I think the difference for her is that she's been through some shit and has a lot of life experience. So these kids don't faze her. She cannot be shaken by anything, you know. And I think that's strength to have, because if you go into a classroom of teenagers and you exhibit reluctance or lack confidence, I think that you will get eaten alive.
Of course.
You know?
Right. But also, I think something that I wrote down was that she had moments where she kind of reminded students or tried to bring students to the spotlights as well, and tried to, like, you know, honor the kind of knowledge that they were bringing, the skills that they were bringing. You know, like this scene where she starts asking them to, like, sing like Mary Had a Little Lamb or something.
That's such a good lesson.
And it was like, you
I
know,
loved
and there was this girl, I was like, I don't know the lyrics, and she kind of plays in on the joke to try to, like, you know, like, to release the tension and stuff. And it's like, okay, but sing whatever you want. Then
maybe,
you know?
Mary had a little dog. Maybe Mary had a little bird.
And just giving them, you know, these opportunities to show themselves authentically, and also herself showing herself authentically, you know, quote unquote, because she was in disguise as a nun and they didn't know who she actually was.
Yeah, but she's still herself, even though
she was, like, you know, and she and yeah, there wasn't like this verticality, you know, this hierarchy that sometimes, you know, teachers feel like there has to be, especially in like kind of like more traditional classrooms. And that when I was, I think I remember the first class that I had to teach, because I went to like university, like 5 years of like, you know, to become a languages teacher. And I went into a classroom, and
yeah, I'm so jealous.
But it was nerve-wracking because it was a high school. It was only girls. It was Catholic high school as well. And I was supposed to be an intern. So there was an English teacher that was, like the experience, super well seasoned. And she was supposed to teach for an hour. And then I was supposed to teach for another hour. And I came from university with all of these, super dynamic, super stand up, move around the classroom, like all of these. And when I sat down in the back of the classroom and the teacher, and I was supposed to observe and learn from her, and it was like rote learning. It was like, okay, this is a reading, copy from your book to the notebook, highlight the words that you don't know, open your dictionary, look for the meaning, copy it, and now let's read together. And I was like, what? Like, they taught me that this was not good, So I doubted a lot about, there was this disconnect between the theory and what actually happened in a classroom. Yeah.
The practice.
And also it was like a classroom of almost 40 teenagers, right? And then I was like super young. I think I was like 20 years old. And then I was in front of the classroom and I was wearing this suit and I was, supposed to pretend that, I knew better and all of that. And I think something that I appreciated also from like the character is that she was just like, I don't know, she had this way of building empathy with them, right? And she also took her time to observe the kids and didn't fight them. Like, she went into like the spaces even outside of the classroom to see who they were, and what was kind of like their interactions and their attentions. And I think that also is really valuable, to arrive to the classroom not feeling or thinking that you know better, but that the students can also be teachers in that sense, right? And I think that's also something that we learn as we kind of like step away as well from these kind of like just only focusing or relying on what the theory says, or straight from academia into the practice, and something that I think even in a decolonial kind of approach.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Sister Mary Clarence is bringing herself to the classroom, but she also allows the students to bring themselves to the classroom. But there's a moment where she is quite fed up with... So the nun hears Rita singing with her friend, and she's, oh my gosh, you need to sing. And she has a little conversation with her and understands her home life is a bit challenging. And then she runs into Sister Mary Clarence, and Sister Mary Clarence is quite fed up with Rita, and she says, there's more there than you're seeing. And I think, and that's when Sister Mary Clarence decides to go talk to her mom. So I think there's this recognition of, you don't leave what's going on outside of the school at home or work. Yeah. Even if you're pretending there's no other life, you're compartmentalizing. It's never that simple. And as a teacher, if you want to reach your students and you don't know anything about them other than what you see in the classroom, you're probably not going to have a lot of success, because we're all full humans that have experiences that impact us every moment, that whatever's going on with me and my friends, whatever's going on with me and my parents, whether or not I have a healthy meal in the morning, all of those things are going to impact what happens in the classroom. That was a good demonstration of that concept that we need to be cognizant of and remember. And then the other thing that I thought was demonstrated well in this movie, and that I don't know if we talk about enough in education, is sometimes the burden of systemic structure and the ability to, or the freedom to try things. And I think that this is probably not coming together yet, but I think it'll come together in a second. But in the context of the school closing, there are there's a freedom to disobey and to be a bit of a rebel because the stakes are gone. We can do this choir thing. The school's gonna close. If they get mad at it, what will happen? The worst that can happen is things stay the same. So she's able to just say, I'm gonna do what I do. And the other nuns get the principal on board and say, just let her, she's a bit wacky, but let her do what she does. She's really good at it. And so that's what she does. And Mary had a little lamb lesson. And so I think that there's a demonstration here on how things can innovate when there's this freedom. And it resonated with me because when I was a teacher trainer in Malaysia, my whole job was to help the teachers to try new student-centered pedagogies, right? That was my job. I was hired by the government to do that. But when I would go work with my teachers, they would say, Nichole, if I try that, I will get fired. They felt that they didn't feel safe to try different things. That's why you get stuck in this rote teaching, because they might want to. The teachers that I worked with, they wanted to do different things, but they were afraid of the administration coming in, watching them try something, and then getting reprimanded or getting in trouble. And the only way I could get them to let go of that fear is to take all of the responsibility.
Like,
so
it's cool, you guys. If something happens, it's on me.
I told them I told you you had to. Put it all on me. I will take the fall for you. And I would have. I was really sincere in that. I knew I was safe in the sense that I was hired to do that. Sometimes when you're the weird foreigner, people let you just do weird things. Oh, she's just the weird.
Yeah, you get away with it.
Just a weird foreigner,
But that disruption in the face, that allowance to be disruptive in the face of crisis, I think we've seen a lot in the times of COVID as well, right? Like, and especially, you were mentioning that, like, and I remember at the end when she starts, like, fundraising, to bring the kids to like the finals or the regionals or the state championship stuff. It also reminded me about how a lot of teachers during the school closures due to COVID, to the pandemic, they became community organizers. Like I talked to so many teachers in Peru that were sharing stories about how they faced the pandemic back then. And they had, like organized the parents in a small rural town of Peru to like buy cell phones for their children, so that they could at least have access to some, like connectivity through WhatsApp or something. And they had also looked for funding or for secondhand phones to bring, or they had organized using some like the projectors of the municipality, or like these common areas to have at least maybe like projections once a month, or like they just really went beyond the classroom and beyond those limitations of the curriculum even, right? And what they had been doing until then because of that crisis. And I think that kind of like reminded me of that, seeing her just like building this organizing and building the community, and even getting the teachers to the retirement home and seeing like, real life, how it happened, and connecting to the elders and connecting to the nuns. That was I think a way to disrupt also like knowledge hierarchies.
Yeah, I also I took note of that scene as well, and I thought one of the things that she's doing with that is she's hooking the students by just disrupting their preconceived notions.
Very, very cool. Yes. Yeah, they're putting together a performance, right?
Nuns, basically.
Yeah, she's helping break down
the nuns
these
do this
prejudices.
cool. For 1993, it's cool. They're doing the arms. They're elderly nuns doing mild hip hop, and that's for 1993. I think that is pretty abnormal. Even if a student hates everything about it, they're gonna at least be a little bit intrigued, because these nuns are going against their trope, I guess. So she's doing the hook. She's hooking them in. And then she's doing service learning because she shows them this music room and she's, okay, we can use this music room. The piano is literally on the floor and there's 4 keys. But if we work together, we can fix it up. And so the students are invested in that. And also they're given a lot of choice on what they do. So they can paint the walls. They work together to clean things up. And that's the other thing that I took note of when they were doing the Mary Had a Little Lamb lesson, is that there's a structure to the lesson, but the students have choice over what they do with it. So you can rap it if you want. You can sing it however you like to sing it, but just show me what you got. And so they have to do the activity, but they're given choice in how they do it. And I think that's another good pedagogical practice that Sister Mary Clarence uses. And
yeah, no, and attached to that, I think that to that exercise in choice, there is also like an underlying like challenge that unites them in community, right? Like making that
it's almost like project-based learning, because they have an application of everything.
Yeah, like achieving like, the nice choir, singing, room space, fundraising the money to get to the regionals, winning the contest. And I think like in the end, it does have a really positive impact on the students in terms of, like not only winning the contest, the choir the singing contest, but also like in the way that they show up into the classroom. They show up every day and they interact with each other, right? I liked how the movie ends in this like super positive high note and everybody's happy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I will add, there's one thing that I'm forgetting which nun did this, but I really don't think they should have told the kids that the competition could save the school. I think that's way too much pressure. Yeah, no pressure. I don't think that they should have burdened the students with that knowledge. That's an adult problem. That's not a kid problem. So that was one thing I think that they shouldn't have done. They can absolutely make this a big thing that they're working towards without putting that burden on them. But yeah, I think overall having that and it also just made me think about how music classrooms have this built-in final assignment that's practical, that uses real-world application of what you're learning. So usually when you have a music class, you have a concert at the end of the semester or
something
whatever,
to
so you're working towards that.
Right.
I've had music teachers that were really, really bad, and they just made us do ridiculous things. But if you have a really good teacher, they're using that time to teach you music theory and put into practice the techniques that you're trying to learn that semester to improve your practice. And then at the end, and a concert is high stakes, right? You can embarrass yourself if you not do well.
Yeah, it's a very vulnerable kind of situation
so
to put yourself in.
You can learn from that. Yeah.
But it was nice because they did it together, right? Like I think it comes back to that, like, like community
I felt the
building
kids
kind
in
of
this movie
exercise
were
as well.
super chill kids. And even the little bit of resistance she gets from them, as someone who has been in a lot of classrooms, I think I've experienced. These are supposed to be the bad kids, you know what I mean? And to me, they were pretty well behaved for teenagers, I say.
I think also, like, I think, like, they chose to be in that class. Like, and they were all, musically inclined.
Yeah, so there's intrinsic motivation. She just needed to tap into it. Mm-hmm. And I think her presence, too, just doesn't let them get away with any crap. She commands respect from everyone. Yeah.
And she names it. Right? Like, I think, like, in some of the first scenes, she's like, I want you to respect me, I want to respect you, or she phrases it in that kind of terms, but she names the expectations, and I think that also starts making a difference.
Exactly, yeah. And she makes it very clear. She's like, take off your hats, take off those glasses, you know.
And I took note of that. I'm glad you mentioned the take off the hats, because she didn't just say like, take off the hat because that is disrespectful or because this is how we do it in the classroom. She said something like, I want to see
Yeah.
you, right?
Oh yeah.
So
that
she
was
makes
like a really
this, like,
powerful
compelling
thing to say. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought so too.
Yeah. Okay,
I
well,
like
I
that.
think, we could obviously keep going. I feel like I can always keep going, but do we
Oh.
give Sister Mary Clarence gold stars, or keep trying, or demerit?
I think considering, everything, like her background, the situation, and the fact that she just accepted this to help her friends and then help the school, I would definitely give it a gold.
So I would give her gold stars. And again, I am surprised because I felt coming into this that I will have a lot of critique, but I feel like we remember things more harshly than they actually are, because each time I went into it thinking, I'm ready, give it to me, and then I don't have much critique to, and I'm sure that there will be episodes coming where there are bad teachers, but so far they've been pretty good.
I'm enjoying it.
So, Melissa, what are we watching on the next episode?
Okay, so on the next episode, I'm the host, and
Yay.
I chose a classic movie from Mexican cinema, from the, I think it's like the 80s or the 70s even. The movie's called El Profe, which would be roughly translated as The Teach,
Nice.
It's with this super famous Mexican comedian called Cantinflas. So I'm very excited to rewatch that. I haven't watched it in a while as well.
I've never seen it. So thanks for choosing that movie. Again, for anyone listening, you can go to the website for additional resources that are linked to the concepts covered in today's episode. Tell us in the chat what you want to see us review, and grab your snacks and come watch El Profe with us next time.
Thank you, Nichole. Thank you for choosing today's movie. This was
It
really
was fun. All right, bye, Melissa.
Bye. See you next time.